Hi everyone, my name is MadisonDavis, and this is my oral presentation for INTS 4350. I chose to do my topic over immigration since it's such a hot topic, I guess you could say, currently, especially with the past electoral season. And my title for my paper is People Aren't Illegal, Tearing Down the Wall and Its Stereotypes. Okay, so for my introduction, it basically talked about how immigration is an occurrence that every country is affected by, how immigrants are welcomed by the varying countries depends on a plethora of matters such as who is leading the country, their economic prosperity, racial tensions, and so on. My research paper focused on highlighting the fact that immigrants should be treated with respect and kindness, and that immigration is actually beneficial for our economy. So the relevant disciplines that I have chosen to research this paper and this topic are psychology, economics, and ethics. These perspectives will be able to argue the best case for supporting immigration and getting people to view immigrants as being human beings that should be treated with respect and kindness. By using psychological perspectives, this paper will emphasize the reasons behind people wanting to immigrate here and reveal that there is no malintent the vast majority of the time. Economically speaking, one of the main reasons that people oppose immigration is because they fear that immigrants will take jobs that native-born Americans could have had. By delving into the economic side of this issue, this paper can reveal that immigrants lead more innovation, that immigration leads to more innovation, a better educated workforce, greater occupational specialization, better matching of skills with jobs, and higher overall economic productivity. Lastly, ethics can work to shed some humanity into this issue. By delving into the ethics perspective, this paper can argue that there is perhaps a universal right to be able to migrate into another country. Okay, so the two main sources I used for my research paper were JSTOR and LexisNexis, and I chose these two online databases because you're able to refine your search process on them, and you can specifically look for scholarly articles. And so I knew that the research articles I was searching and looking at were very, very factual in their standing, and that they were written by licensed professionals. There was one article that I used that was from Google, just for some extra information. However, that wasn't one of the main articles I used. The main articles I used in my research paper were both from JSTOR and LexisNexis. And Google was just in there because it was nice to add a couple facts in there that were from another source. Okay. So the first article I found is titled, "Is Immigration a Racial Issue? Anglo Attitudes on Immigration Policies in a Border County." So this article researched the effects of racial tensions between Anglo-Americans and Latinos. The researchers looked at physical proximity between Anglo and Latino populations, contact between Anglo-Americans and ethnic minorities, and how these factors affected Anglo preferences regarding immigration policies. So this article was important because it found that immigration is very much indeed a racial issue. So Anglo-Americans in the study were found to be much more accepting of immigrants from European countries than those from Latino populations. This is because the Americans are better able to identify with those from European countries due to racial similarities and cultural similarities. We aren't as similar as those from Latino populations in many aspects, and as a result, those differences create a divisive barrier between the two populations. And as a result, Anglo-Americans aren't as accepting of them, and are, in a study conducted by the researchers, it was found that Anglo-Americans were much more willing to accept bad rumors about Latinos than they were about Canadian immigrants. So this research paper helped to shine a light on how immigration is definitely a racial issue. So the second article I found is called "Social Scientists' Views on Immigrants and U.S. Immigration Policy, a Postscript." This article is important to understanding the background of the majority of people who oppose immigration. This study found that the more educated the person was, the more likely they were to support immigration and believe that immigrants should be welcomed into the country, because they positively impact our society. The most interesting finding from this article is that economists were the ones who were most in favor of immigration. They viewed immigrants as being a positive impact to our society and our economy, and this fact alone shows that immigrants are not actually a deterrent to our economy. People often fear that immigrants will come and steal American jobs and that they will drain our resources and just be a drain literally on our economy. But economists don't agree with that, and they are the most educated on that subject. So it's safe to say that immigration is actually a boon for our economy, and that immigrants are not actually detrimental at all to our society. Another scholarly article that I viewed is titled Economic Benefits from Immigration. This paper uses an economic framework to explain how native-born Americans benefit from immigration and works to suggest ways that a new immigration policy can be formed to best maximize the economic benefits. One of the main factors that this paper discusses is how the United States should create a new immigration policy that targets a more skilled immigrant demographic so that economic benefits could increase dramatically. A way that Mr. Bourgeois proposed doing so would be to use skill filters when awarding entry visas. This is a rather cold approach toward immigrants, but if the chief worry among people is that they are a hindrance to our economy, then this provides a solution that works as a sort of compromise. So this paper was implemented in my research art paper because it showed that there are ways that we can work to even better improve our economic benefits in regards to immigration. However, should we do that ethically speaking is another question. Okay, and then another article that was found was Immigration Justice Beyond Liberal, Egalitarian, and Communitarian Perspectives. Okay, so this article discusses creating a socially just immigration regime and poses the theory that if we as a country were to help those in struggling countries, then immigration could decrease. So basically, this author was talking about how if people still don't want immigrants to keep coming to America or like come as highly as they do, then we as a country should help those who are struggling financially. And ways that we could do that would, one of the ways he proposed that we do that was to absolve them of all debts that they owe, because of the fact that they simply aren't going to be able to pay it back and that they're already struggling to survive. And so by freeing them of the debts, they could start focusing more inward and more on their the people of their country than trying to pay back other countries. And so, hopefully, with that thought is that people could, their country could improve a little bit more. And if their country were to start paying more attention to their people and to improving their society, then perhaps people wouldn't be as willing or wanting to immigrate to the United States or other countries because their country is becoming a better place to live in. Okay, and then one of the other articles that I viewed was titled Including Oneself and Including Others, Who Belongs in My Country? And this article raises the question that to be a full member of a country, must one have citizenship, the same ethnic or racial background, or the same religion as most citizens? So, this article found that those who have a strong sense of inclusion often desire to exclude others. This dynamic is related to the fact that patriotism is not associated with a warm welcome in regards to immigrants, and this makes it difficult for employers to bring in new workers or for those in politics to promote immigration. This article works to show the human aspect to immigrants and voices the question as to what it takes to be considered a full member of this country. Findings show that Americans are less accepting of those from different cultural and racial backgrounds when it comes to immigrants. After researching these articles, this is the most common reasoning behind being opposed to immigration, whether it's legal or illegal. This is an area that by the 21st century we should be able to overlook. We know what is right from wrong, and it's simply wrong to prohibit people from coming into our country for fear of their differences. It's our differences that make us unique, and instead of fearing those who are from a different background than us, we should be able to, we should make it a point to learn from them. Okay, so for immigration justice beyond liberal, egalitarian, and communitarian perspectives, the author idealized the ways in which that maybe people are willing to help others. This author focused on ways in which to create a more just immigration policy and how we can reach out to struggling countries, which in turn will limit immigration. However, his proposal about us helping other countries and not expecting anything in return might have been a little bit idealistic of him, because it kind of, I don't know, people necessarily aren't always willing to do something for others if there's nothing in return for them. And so I think that this article kind of faults in that way, and that it was maybe a little bit too idealistic, and it wasn't as realistic as maybe it needed to be. It kind of focused, this type of policy could happen maybe a utopian type of world, but in the world that we live in, I don't think that the policies he suggested would be able to be implemented in today's society. So, in the economic benefits from immigration, it discusses ways in which policies could be made to attract more highly skilled immigrants. However, for this article, Mr. Bourdieu has a rather cold approach, and I think that he could benefit from researching how his proposal would affect the immigrants he suggests we target. So this is the paper that said how we should work to attract, only skilled immigrants so our economy can prosper even more. But he never said anything about how his policies would affect said immigrants. And so it's lacking in that way. And so I think for it to be a more full and complete research paper, he would need to delve into the fact about how they would be affected. Okay, so for the main ideals in immigration justice, beyond liberal, egalitarian, and communitarian perspectives, is that immigrants should be treated ethically and with compassion, while those that were discussed economic benefits from immigration focuses on how we can in turn benefit from immigration. So as a result, if both of these perspectives are used together when considering immigration, then perhaps more people can begin to view immigrants as assets to our country and therefore treat them with respect and compassion that they deserve. Okay, so is immigration a racial issue? Anglo attitudes on immigration policies in a border country is a great article to read alongside including oneself and including others who belong to that country. This is because it really gets you thinking on race and why it is that immigration is such a stigmatized word. These articles force you to think about race in regards to immigration and help you see that racism is something that we still have to deal with in today's society. Okay, so for my conclusion, people who come here do so because they wish for a better life for themselves and their children. People who immigrate here are incredibly brave for coming to a country where they are outsiders, and any harsh words or hateful acts against them should make everyone in this country ashamed. Economically speaking, it should be clear that immigration is extremely beneficial to our country. The argument that immigrants steal our jobs or are a deterrent for our economy is simply not true. Immigrants usually take the jobs that most Americans don't even want anyways. And economists all, for the most part, agree that immigration is something that is a boon to our economy. And those who oppose immigration will never support it if they do not first learn to empathize with immigrants as individuals. So there needs to be more education about immigration in our society. That way people can see that view them with a more empathetic attitude, and realize that they're human beings and that they are the same as you or me. So if we can, lastly, in conclusion, if we can celebrate one another's diversities instead of being intimidated by different races and religions, then we will truly become a society worthy of living in a country like the United States. So thank you all for listening to my PowerPoint. I hope that it was all clear and that y'all were able to follow along nicely. And thank you all for a wonderful semester, and I wish you the best of luck in the future. Thank you. Bye.